The old major 7. What a great way to end any progression. Dudes, it's here. It's one of the, we've had mystery amps. This is my new favorite amp. I've been teasing it on Instagram, on Facebook, and to my surprise, nobody has gotten it yet. And I really wanted to give away a bunch of these packs for free. It's a very rare amp. It's called the Matchless Brave. And I just ran into this. Look, I'm always looking for amps. I'm always on the hunt. And I'm very familiar with Matchless. Well-made, well-designed, American-made company. This was the last model from my research. So, you know, I'm not the final authority on any of this stuff, but from the research I've done, which includes a lot of forum posts of people who say I spoke with Phil, or I spoke with Mark, or I spoke with whoever. It's the last model that was made or designed by Mark Sampson before leaving the company. Now, it was a short-lived model, and there's a good reason why. It has a low channel and a high channel, and from what I can tell, a lot of people for a while thought this amp was a Lightning preamp and an EL34 power section. Then some people said, no, that's not true. It looks like this is some sort of take on a Plexi. Now, you might be thinking, HW, I thought the Chieftain was a take on a Plexi. It's really loose the way you say a take on something, but from what I can see, a Chief, like my Chief is a 100-watt Chief, or the Chieftain, which is like 40 watts, same wattage as this, is maybe a bit more JTM 45, maybe a bit less Marshall-y, although when you have all these presence controls and stuff, you certainly can dial it in that way. This thing feels like something else. It does feel a little bit Marshall-esque with the right speaker, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. But this thing is an absolute beast, and it's become one of my all-time favorite amps. And I'm super excited. You're going to be able to download for Tonex, for Kemper, Quad Cortex, and I'll have Neural Amp Modeler, but it's not quite ready yet. I'm training all the files, but those will be out. So apologize to the Neural Amp people. You're going to have to wait just a couple more days to play these, probably when the pack comes out. But dudes, I'm playing this great Sir, and clean. It sounds like this. This is with the H speaker. Split. Sounds really brilliant clean. Let's go to single coils because we're pushing a little bit there. So it can do that thing, but if we push it up to H4, right, this will be on the Tonex and the Cortex and everything as 4, this gain range. It's the amp up here at about 4. And, well, not 4, sorry. It's the 4th one I do. And that means it's going to be at about 8. It kind of works like that. And if I throw on a little boosty kind of thing, and I use just my modern-ish guitar here, because that's a big part of any sound, right? You get this. Very cool, very cool. This is a really great guitar, but it's not everyone's guitar. It's kind of a modern guitar. And I really fell in love with the sound of this amp with a more familiar guitar to me, which is my JM Pro. There's that major 7 again. I really do love it. This is Blue. It's one of the greatest guitars in the world. But what I love about this amp and Blue together, and this is where I really went, whoa, this is something special, It's like that supercharged telly-esque kind of thing. Now, I've switched to the M3 profile, so we're listening to a more traditional greenback 412 through one of my favorite caps, and that's also another reason I like it. I love AC30 style things. I love Marshalls. I love greenbacks and this big 412 cab, and I love this guitar. Now, this thing, to me, does not really resemble an AC30 much. It really does feel like I don't know, like a Matchless Marshall, but I even hesitate to call it a Plexi clone. I mean, it's got bass, treble, master, and volume. That's it. The high channel reminds me a lot of a Marshall in the brighter channel. The low channel, I mentioned earlier why this amp was probably short-lived. The clean channel is so clean, it's like 20 dB too low. What's interesting about that is that this model here, it looks like maybe you could have used an A/B switch to go into the low and into the high, and you could make a channel switching amp that way. I believe Mark Sampson used that later on in the design of the Hot Cat at the Bad Cat company, because that's how you can control that amp with an external A/B switch. Maybe this was the first run of that. Honestly, it's not that well executed because the clean channel is so clean and so much lower in volume. It's like, I read online it might be 20 dB lower, which is really almost unmanageable live. So to me, you just use the high. That's where you go. I mean, you could use the low and just push stuff into it, but you're going to just get clean response. But I love EL34s. I love this thing. It sounds like nothing I've ever really experienced. And because it's a little bit of a bunch of stuff, but it's almost like, it's like you go to a really good restaurant and they do shrimp and grits. And you've had shrimp and grits, and you love shrimp and grits, and there's this other place they have really great shrimp and grits, but you ain't never had shrimp and grits that is quite like this, and it ain't never going to be quite like that anywhere else. Man, there's a place in San Francisco called Brenda's. They used to do shrimp and grits. Mamma mia, Uncle Willie, that's just some tone. But on the bridge, it's like a supercharged telly kind of thing, I just think that's a fabulous tone. And you bring it up here. Now I'm on 3, so that's about the equivalent. That's pretty much, I always do my 3 profiles or tone X chapters, whatever, with the amp straight up. To me, 3 is the middle, right? And then I'm going to do a 1 and a 2 on this side. I'm going to do a 4 and a 5 on this side, right? It's like that pretty much covers the amp. If you can't get the amp in 5 sounds, you know what I mean? You don't have 5 settings on your amp that you even use on your real amp. You know what I'm saying? But on the bridge here, you get this wonderful, I can clean it up really nice, and I get this wonderful, Fender-y, Strat-esque clean. Middle is nice and big and clear and punchy. And then the bridge is where, full volume again, you really start to just push. that you've got enough to really make it full on, like, to me, that's all I need to cover, you know, kind of the more rockin' stuff. And then the clean stuff, you know, I can easily just, I mean, I can even clean up that bridge with just my pick hand. And that's a real voice, man. That is a beautiful sound. But even on the neck, if I want to just clean it up really nicely, you know, I can do. I think that's a really, really beautiful and a really great way to think about it. Now, if I want more than that, that's where I start using things like this would be like kind of a Klon-esque thing, courtesy of the Kemper over here. You can still clean it up. You hear that extra mid-range gives you a little more voice now. That's beautiful. Middle. All I've got is a light Klon on, and I'm still using my volume right here. To me, there's great amps. And there's a lot of great amps that are one-trick ponies, okay? Marshalls, they're not one-trick ponies, but they're one-trick ponies at the settings you give them. To me, you set your Marshall up clean, and like Tom Bukovac will tell you, super bass, late 60s super bass, just maybe the greatest clean amp ever made. But in my opinion, you kind of got to dial it in that way. You can't go all-out Marshall crunch like Marshall on 10 with everything on 10, Jimi Hendrix Voodoo Child too clean with just your volume knob. When Jimmy was doing that, he was using the fuzz face. And so it kind of gives you the wrong impression of a Marshall. A Marshall is really beautiful clean, but the normal channel is so dark and thick, and that's great. But to me, the best cleans are on the bright channel. When you dial in the fullness as much as you can, even take away from some of the brightness, you can convince people it's a Fender. Only it sounds big, like a 100-watt Fender, but with like, I don't know, you can get more out of it. To me, I'll take a Marshall clean forever. But if you really want the Marshall crunch thing, a lot of it's the miking and the making it more mid-rangey, or you get the big, really high-end sizzle, which a lot of times gets taken out of records by EQing. And so those are great amps. You got to set them up a certain way, though. Voxes are another one that it's like there is a Vox sound that is amazing, and it is very difficult to get something other than the Vox sound out of a Vox. It does that thing. But to me, there's some really, really special amps that give me these shades of things that I just go, whoa, that's exceptional. In the 150, 200 amps I've owned over the years, that is something remarkable right there. I can tell you a few that have done it. To me, the GA5 Gibson Skylark is a really incredible amp. I think a Plexi is an incredible amp. I think you can set it up in a way that gives you a lot of shades, but I think the best on a Marshall happens when you go either all the way this way or all the way this way, like, dial it in for that. A Vox, I play a Vox. I play Vox sounds every Sunday at my church. I love them, but I use an Overdrive that's profiled into it, to really get the sound I want at different times. So it doesn't do everything by itself. But this with just a tube screamer, a Klon, That is just beautiful. It's not even up all the way. Up all the way is like... And on the bridge. And you might go, HW, hey, I want a little more rock than that. Well, you can take the gain up. You certainly can. In fact, we can do it right now. Here's the sound. Where's the sound I was playing? Here's the sound I was playing at the beginning of the video with a much different guitar. I'll do these back to back. You know, we'll tell you something. I love this guitar, but you get used to playing Sirs. Their necks are like so fast and smooth, and both of these, all of a sudden you pick up this thing, and I'm a little bit struggling to be, but it has its own vibe. It's a wonderful guitar. But right there, to me, that is one of the things. Listening to this thing do its thing through all of these microphones, through all of these voices, right? Doing the harder rock thing because you got the more modern sizzly pickups, right? With a little bit of the scoop. Doing the more P90, Telly-esque country on steroids in the bridge and the fat Strat thing, just P90 grumble that I kind of is to me the best of all worlds. And then you bring it down to here, and it's like, does anything in the world ever gonna clean up like this? That's no boost, by the way. I can put back on the Klon. It does a thing. The Strat's never going to be a Telly. Not even with this amazing amp. Hey dudes, it's available in the download below, so just go grab it and enjoy. It's the Match Brave. It is an amp I'm just over the moon with. It's one of my new favorite amps, and I'm probably got to keep this one around because I have not seen one of these come up in years and years and years. And if you find one, I believe there's about 500 made, somewhere between 300 and 500 ever were made. Only 5, from what I can see, were made in the 212 configuration. So they're out there. You can find them. I had to get mine internationally because I haven't even seen one for sale in years, and I hadn't really even read much about it until right now. Go play it. Pack is out soon. These are free for everybody. Tonex, Quad Cortex, Kemper, Neural Amp Modeler is coming in the next couple days. Sorry, but I'll get that on the link. I'll get that up there as well. Link below. Later.